and becoming a parent will soften you, and adoption will soften you, but it'll also harden you. It's not for the faint of heart.
I am Katie.
I'm Nick, and we are the parents of two little boys that God brought into our life through adoption.
We met in 2014 and got married in 2015 in Dothan, Alabama, and very quickly felt it impressed on our hearts that we wanted to have a large family. And so kind of started immediately kind of with the thought process that we would start that journey early in our marriage, and were kind of surprised to run into infertility and find that we were having difficulty making that dream a reality. Dealing with infertility, the waves of sadness would come over me at random times. I was fine most of the time. Other times I would just be inconsolable. And I very specifically remember leaving a really fun work meeting. I'd seen coworkers and really no reason to be overwhelmed with sadness that day. But as I was driving home, just began to cry out to the Lord, like, why can't I be pregnant? It seems really unfair that, abortions happen. People around me are getting pregnant. I'm a good person too. Why can't I be pregnant? Kind of complaining at him, kind of angry, kind of sad. It was kind of a mixture of all those emotions, and felt the Holy Spirit or the Lord, whatever it was, wash over me and say very firmly, I've already told you what to do. And I said, okay, Lord, I will do it, but you have to change Nick's heart. I don't want to yank or pull him into adoption. I want him to be passionate about it. My fear was that he wouldn't love a child that I forced upon him. And little did I know, God had already long before started working in Nick's heart. Nick had just not verbalized that to me yet.
I was anti-adoption, and I remember very specifically saying on multiple occasions, I don't think that I could love something that isn't mine. And, in hindsight, you want to go back and just slap yourself because it's such a distorted view of the world and how it is. And children, I was just reading my Bible one day, and I don't think it was necessarily a specific study. I don't think it was anything like that. It was just reading the Bible. And it came across Ephesians 1:5 that God adopted us into his sonship through Christ, and now, we have all the blessings. We are part of his chosen people. And I remember that just hitting me. And it was an instantaneous shift in my perspective that, I cannot explain other than God was yanking me up and saying, if he looked at me the way I was looking at orphans and children, then I would be in a really bad spot. I would not be good.
It was really awing as a wife to see that transition occur in him from someone who at one point made the statement, I just want children of my own, to a leader, a force to be reckoned with, a strong man who not only, pulled and led us through the process of adoption, but really fought for those boys, knowing that the best place for them to be was in our home. So, yeah, I didn't even know that the Lord was working in your heart when he was.
When we decided that we were going to adopt, we said we do not want we don't want an older child. We don't want an older baby. We want a baby. We want to start from the ground up because babies come with their own issues, like toddlers come with their own issues and all this stuff. And again, I think if you were to think of a theme of my life, I've had these plans and this vision of where I was going to go and what I was going to do and how it was going to get taken care of. And God has laughed at me the whole time. So I'm at a football game. I'm coaching at Marbury High School, and there's a rain delay, and it's taking forever to start the game. And the field and the locker rooms and everything is separate from the school. And so for the first time in my career, I guess my career was probably 4 years old at this time, I decided, I'm going to go into the school and just walk around. One of the lunch ladies is in there. She just happens to be in there. And she says, hey, I saw you guys were getting ready to adopt. And she goes, well, it's a shame that you didn't hear, y'all didn't announce this a year ago. But Maria has this little 1-year-old who he's got this awful home life. You know, he's been with his birth family, but like they couldn't take care of him. Mother has been sick and on the run and stuff like that, and struggled with addiction. So Maria took him in. Maria walks into the lunchroom, like right where I'm having the conversation, and she's got a little baby on her hip. And he was so cute, but it's heartbreaking when I think about what he looked like, because he had this look. He's had like a lost look. And I heard God speak to me for the first time in my life. So I picked up my phone, texted Katie. I said, hey, I just met a 1-year-old who might need adopting. And then I went outside and I coached a football game. And I come back after the game, and I've just got text messages. And so I prayed. I don't know if we prayed together, but I said, Katie, I'm not going to approach Maria Powell about adopting some baby who she's taking care of for some family. Like, I'm not doing that. So I prayed, and again, this is a Friday. I prayed very specifically, God, if that's what you want, if that is what you spoke to me, if that is my son, then you're going to have to convict Maria, and you're going to have her approach me, because I am not going to approach her about it. And Monday, she approached me about him. And she was very clear. She goes, I can't make promises, but he needs a mommy and a daddy. And this, in our situation, was never supposed to be permanent. Would this be something you're interested in? And it was a resounding yes.
So Peyton's in our house. As Nick said earlier, we didn't want to adopt, or we said we didn't want to adopt a toddler. We wanted to adopt a baby. And here we fell in love with Peyton, who was a toddler. We wanted to have a big family, but we were concerned about Peyton because he had so much uncertainty in his life previously that we wanted to make sure that he felt fully secure and bonded with us before we even thought about introducing new people into the home that would make him feel replaced or anything like that. And so when he was 3 years old, though, we felt firmly that we were in a really good place and kind of felt the Lord calling us to adopt again. Felt like it was the right time. Really did not think we were going to have another private adoption. I will say Nick did at times say, I think it could happen again. And I was very cynical about it. I was like, no, miracles like that don't happen, twice. So Maria Powell unexpectedly called us while we were in Dothan, and the tone of voice which she picked up the phone with, I knew something was up. And she told us about this baby that was at the hospital whose family was consenting to adoption. The birth mother was consenting to adoption, and she was just trying to help the birth family find that family for this baby. And it was an immediate yes for us. We got to the hospital up in Montgomery very quickly. We got the adoption law firm involved very quickly. And despite all these wonderful people working with us, including the consenting birth family, unfortunately, DHR did take him into custody. And then began a long process to get him permanently in our home. We were able to get foster licensed so that he could be placed with us during this whole time. Very similarly to Peyton's situation, birth mom was not present, and that was a factor. They wanted to hear directly from birth mom, even though birth grandmother had all the documentation supporting the fact that she wanted an adoption to occur. And we just kind of lived in this place of uncertainty, unfortunately, for a long period of time. It was hard. We had this brand new baby in our home that we were so in love with, and also scared to be in love with him because of the uncertainty of everything involved. So unfortunately, after 5 weeks of him being in our home, it was 5 weeks, he was removed from our home and placed with another foster family temporarily. And that was really, really hard. I've talked about how hard infertility is. That's the hardest thing that I've ever been through. I felt like my world was falling apart. I had no peace or rest for the period of time that he was gone, and had no idea if I was going to see him again. He left the Friday before Mother's Day, and so that was a really bad Mother's Day. But at the same time, I had to pull myself together because I had a son in the home that needed me for him. Didn't know how he was going to end up back in our home. Felt firmly that the Lord was going to provide. Had a lot of prayer warriors and a lot of people fighting for us. Ultimately, I think he ended up back into our home after 2 weeks because we had the birth family on our side. Birth mother wanted us to adopt this baby, and birth grandmother wanted us to adopt this baby, and so they hounded DHR. Why is this happening? Why has he been placed somewhere else? We want him with the Lansdells. We want him to be adopted by the Lansdells.
So it's hard to skim over the darkest 2 weeks of your life. But that was a dark, dark time in my life, in Katie's life, in our marriage. It was so uncertain. And 2 weeks to the day, and we got him back.
Yeah.
And but in those 2 weeks, trusting God, and again, I don't know that I've ever felt God speak to me the way he did and with Peyton, but I do remember she's crying in the shower and I'm sitting on the bed like, God, I don't know what to do. And it was like this realization that you can't do anything. You can't do anything, so stop trying. And Sam texted me within an hour. He's like, I've got some things that we're working on, and he had been communicating with the department as well. And long story short, he came back. He was home, and he stayed home. The journey wasn't over. There was probably another year of foster care, uncertainties, questions, court hearings, people coming in and out of your house to determine whether or not you're fit to be a parent. But each and every step of the way, again, you don't see the end, but you just trust that God is going to provide. And he did. He did every step, and he's so good. And I remember when the judge announced him as like, this is it, this is the decree by the word of the court, and I'm like hyperventilating, like this is the end of it. Yeah. And how happy I was, and Katie was, and Peyton was, and Elias was. I mean, if you look at pictures, that kid is just a ball of joy, and he always has been. And becoming a parent will soften you, and adoption will soften you, but it will also harden you. It's not for the faint of heart. And it will open your eyes to the realities of how broken this world truly is. And I think Sam has said it before, adoption is beautiful, but it comes from a place of brokenness. I don't think you can name an adoption where it wasn't something broken in that situation. But all I can say is, from my perspective, is how blessed we are as parents to have experienced it. And hopefully we can experience it many more times.
I could not be more thankful for our adoption journey. It has changed me so much. And I can't help but think, had I gotten pregnant the way me and Nick had planned, I would love those children. But I love Peyton and Elias, and I don't know where they would be if that had been what God had called us to do instead of this path. And they are two beautiful boys who are so deserving of opportunities and of love and of grace and all the things that I feel like me and Nick are able to provide for them. And it kind of makes me a little bit sad to think about where they would be. And I'm sure the Lord would have provided them, in that scenario, but the Lord provided for them here, and they provided to us here. I knew that the Lord was going to give me children. I knew that he did not give me a heart for motherhood that would not be fulfilled one way or another. And he fulfilled it through adoption. And I could not be more grateful for Elias and Peyton.